A father searching desperately for his missing son, an abandoned forest hiding unspeakable evil, and a discovery so horrific it would break not just one family, but an entire community. What he found in those woods wasn't just his son's body. It was evidence of a darkness so complete, investigators are still haunted by it today.
The forest had been abandoned for nearly a decade. Once a popular hiking destination, a series of accidents and infrastructure decay had led authorities to close all official trails. The old ranger station stood empty. The parking lots grew over with weeds. Nature reclaimed what humans had temporarily borrowed. But the forest wasn't empty. Not entirely. Local teenagers still used it as a party spot. Homeless individuals sought shelter in abandoned cabins. And hunters who didn't care about posted warnings still tracked deer through the dense undergrowth. And on one particular stretch of forgotten forest road, something evil had taken root. Something that believed the isolation and decay provided perfect cover for unspeakable acts. Marcus Thompson was 23 years old, with his entire life ahead of him. Recent college graduate, job offer at a tech company, plans to propose to his girlfriend. The kind of young man described by everyone who knew him as genuinely good. Not perfect, but kind. Not extraordinary, but loved deeply by those close to him. And his father, Robert Thompson, would spend 11 days searching desperately for his missing son, refusing to accept what police statistics suggested, following every lead no matter how unlikely, and ultimately making a discovery that would shatter him completely while simultaneously providing the closure every parent of a missing child desperately needs but prays never to receive. The last confirmed sighting of Marcus was October 14th, leaving his apartment at 7:30 p.m. Security camera footage showed him getting into his silver Honda Civic. His cell phone pinged off a tower near the interstate around 8:15 p.m. Then nothing. No more calls. No more texts. No more digital footprint. He simply vanished. The first 48 hours were critical, and Robert Thompson knew it. He'd seen enough crime shows, read enough statistics. He wasn't waiting for police bureaucracy to kick in while precious time evaporated. He printed 500 missing person flyers. He drove to every location Marcus was known to frequent. He contacted every friend, every acquaintance, every distant connection. He posted on social media, organized search parties, contacted local news stations. My son is not the kind of person who just disappears, Robert told reporters on day 3. Something happened to him. Something bad. And I'm not stopping until I find out what. Police opened an official missing persons investigation. Detective Laura Martinez was assigned the case. She was thorough, professional, and compassionate, but also realistic. Most missing adults turn up within 72 hours, she told Robert gently. Often they just needed space. Sometimes they're dealing with issues they haven't shared with family. But Robert knew his son. Marcus wasn't dealing with secret issues. He wasn't running from anything. They'd had dinner 2 nights before he vanished. Everything was normal. Everything was fine. On day 5, Marcus's car was found, abandoned at a rest stop 40 miles from the city, keys in the ignition, wallet still in the glove box, cell phone on the passenger seat, battery long dead. This discovery changed everything. It eliminated the took off voluntarily theory. Marcus would never leave his car like that. The rest stop had limited security cameras, but footage showed nothing useful, just the car sitting there for days while travelers came and went. No one noticing the silver Civic whose owner would never return for it. Detective Martinez escalated the case. This wasn't a voluntary disappearance anymore. This was potential foul play. But where was Marcus? The rest stop was surrounded by highway in 3 directions and dense forest in the 4th. Search dogs were brought in. They picked up a scent leading toward the forest, but lost it after a quarter mile. The abandoned forest that authorities had closed years ago. Official search and rescue teams combed the accessible areas. they found nothing. After 3 days of intensive searching, the operation was scaled back. Resources were limited. Other cases demanded attention. The likelihood of finding Marcus alive in that vast wilderness was approaching zero. But Robert Thompson didn't care about statistics or resource allocation. He cared about his son. If the official search is ending, he told his wife on day 8, then I'm searching myself. Day 11, October 25th. The weather was turning cold. Early morning frost covered the ground. Robert Thompson had been searching the abandoned forest for 3 days straight, sleeping in his truck, surviving on gas station coffee and protein bars. He followed trails that weren't trails anymore, just faint impressions where paths used to exist. He called Marcus's name until his voice was raw. He pushed through dense undergrowth that tore at his clothes and skin. Most people would have given up. The forest was massive. Finding one person in that wilderness was statistically impossible. But Robert wasn't most people. He was a father who would search until he physically couldn't anymore. Around 10:30 a.m., Robert noticed something. An area where vegetation was disturbed differently than natural decay would cause. He'd been a landscaper for 20 years. He understood how plants grew, how nature reclaimed spaces. This looked wrong. He pushed through a thick stand of pine trees and emerged into a small clearing. What he saw there destroyed him. The 911 call played later in court captures, a sound that no recording should contain. A father's soul breaking in real time. I found him. Oh God, I found him. I found my son. He's gone. Someone did this. Someone did this to my boy. The operator tried to get location information, tried to keep Robert calm, tried to follow protocol. But there is no protocol for this moment. No training that prepares you to hear a parent discover their child's murdered body. Robert couldn't process specific details. His mind protected him from the full horror, even as his eyes registered evidence of violence. What he could tell police. Approximately 3 miles into the forest off the old Miller Road access point, in a clearing that was clearly used for something, though what purpose it served was unclear. And his son, his beautiful, kind, 23-year-old son was there. Police and forensic teams arrived within 30 minutes. The scene they found was worse than initial reports suggested. This wasn't a crime of passion. This wasn't an accidental death or a hiking accident gone wrong. This was deliberate. This was brutal. This was murder in its most premeditated form. Detective Martinez, who had seen more death scenes than she could count, would later describe it as one of the most disturbing crime scenes I've encountered in 15 years of homicide. Investigation. Robert was led away by officers before he could see forensic teams beginning their work. He collapsed twice on the way back to the forest access point. Paramedics checked him for shock. He refused to leave until he absolutely had to. My son was alone out there, he kept repeating. He was alone, and I couldn't find him. I couldn't save him. The forensic investigation revealed details that transformed this from a tragic homicide into something far more sinister. Marcus had been dead for approximately 8 to 9 days, meaning he was killed within 24 hours of going missing. The location suggested he was brought to this spot, not killed elsewhere and dumped. The clearing showed signs of previous activity disturbed earth, evidence of fires, items that didn't belong in a natural forest setting. Most disturbing, Marcus wasn't the first victim in this location. Cadaver dogs alerted to 3 other areas within 50 yards of where Marcus was found. Excavation revealed remains some fairly recent, others years old. The abandoned forest had been hiding a serial killer's dumping ground. The investigation exploded in scope. Multiple agencies became involved. FBI consultants on serial crimes arrived. Forensic anthropologists worked to identify other victims, and a task force was formed to find whoever had turned this forgotten wilderness into their personal hunting ground. Detective Martinez's team began connecting dots. Several missing person cases over the past 6 years, all young men in their 20s, all last seen in the general region, all vanished without significant leads. Marcus was the most recent, but he wasn't alone. Someone has been using this forest for years, Martinez told assembled investigators. They know the terrain. They know it's abandoned. They know search and rescue doesn't come here anymore. They chose this place deliberately. Cell phone records provided the first major break. In the hours before Marcus's phone went dead, there were 3 calls from a number registered to someone named David Hale, a name that meant nothing to Marcus's family or friends. Who was David Hale, and why was he calling Marcus? When investigators tracked down Hale, they found an interesting profile. Myth worked as a hunting guide, extremely familiar with the forest region, had permits to access closed-off areas for wildlife management purposes. He lived alone in a cabin 30 miles from the forest, and he had a criminal record assault charges from 8 years ago, pleaded down to a misdemeanor. When police knocked on Hale's door, he wasn't home. His truck was gone. Neighbors reported not seeing him for several days. A search warrant was obtained. What police found in David Hale's cabin would haunt them. Maps of the abandoned forest with specific locations marked. Photographs of the clearing where Marcus was found. Personal items that didn't belong to Hale ID's jewelry. Watches some matching descriptions of missing persons. And a journal. Pages and pages of handwritten notes describing hunts in chilling detail. David Hale wasn't just a killer. He was someone who lured victims to that forest, hunted them, and believed the wilderness would keep his secrets forever. But investigators discovered something that changed the entire case. David Hale had help. Cell phone records revealed consistent communication with another number of phone registered to Michael Chen, age 29, who worked as a security guard and, critically, had access to the rest stop security system where Marcus's car was found. The rest stop where the security cameras mysteriously malfunctioned during the exact time frame Marcus's car appeared. Chen was brought in for questioning. Initially, he denied everything, claimed he barely knew Hale, admitted they were friends but nothing more, said he had no knowledge of any crimes. Then investigators showed him the evidence. His phone's GPS, placing him near the forest access points on dates matching multiple victims' disappearances. Financial records showing Hale making payments to Chanaway's cash, always in amounts just under reporting thresholds. And most damning, Chun's own fingerprints found on items recovered from Hale's cabin. Faced with overwhelming evidence, Michael Chen broke. The confession was horrifying in its casual evil. Chen described how he'd met Hale 3 years ago, how Hale had gradually revealed his hobby, how Chen had been invited to participate and found he enjoyed it, how they developed a system. Chen would identify potential victims, young men traveling alone, vulnerable, unlikely to be quickly missed. He'd manipulate rest stop security. Hale would make contact, offer help or claim car trouble, lure them to the forest. It was like hunting, Chen told detectives, showing no remorse. But more interesting because they could fight back. Chen's confession allowed police to locate David Hale. He'd fled to a property belonging to his cousin in a neighboring state. When police surrounded the location, Hale didn't resist. He simply sat on the porch and said, "I knew someone would find them eventually. I just didn't think it would take this long." His cold pragmatism was chilling. During interrogation, Hale showed no remorse, no empathy, no emotional response to the horror he'd inflicted. He complained that the forest was perfect until that father wouldn't stop looking. That father, Robert Thompson, whose refusal to give up, whose determination, despite impossible odds, whose love for his son was so powerful it led him into that wilderness day after day, until he found the truth. The trial of David Hale and Michael Chen lasted 7 weeks. Prosecutors presented overwhelming evidence, forensic proof, confessions, journals, physical evidence, testimony from families of other victims who'd finally received answers about their missing loved ones. David Hale, guilty of 7 counts of first-degree murder. sentenced to life without possibility of parole, 7 consecutive life terms. Michael Chen, guilty of conspiracy to commit murder, accessory to murder, obstruction of justice, sentenced to 60 years without parole. Neither showed remorse at sentencing. The only time either reacted was when Robert Thompson addressed the court during victim impact statements. Robert stood at the podium, hands gripping the edges so tightly his knuckles turned white. His voice was steady but filled with a grief so profound it silenced the entire courtroom. "You took my son. You took him, and you hunted him like an animal. You believed the forest would hide what you did. You believed no one would find him. You believed you were smarter than everyone, that you'd get away with it forever." He paused, looking directly at Halen Chen. "But you made one mistake. You underestimated a father's love. You thought the forest was too big, the search too impossible. You thought I'd give up, but I didn't. I found him. I found my boy. And because I found him, we found your other victims. We found your evil. And now you'll spend the rest of your lives in a cage, which is far more mercy than you showed any of those young men." Robert Thompson visits the forest edge several times a week. He doesn't go inside. He can't. Not anymore. But he stands at the barrier, looking into those trees, and talks to his son. "I found you," he says quietly. "I promised I'd never stop looking, and I didn't. I found you." The abandoned forest holds many mysteries, but the one that matters most was solved not by forensic science or investigative expertise, but by something simpler and more powerful. A father's love, a father's refusal to give up, a father who walked into darkness every day until he brought his son home.